Hello, my name is Harry Murphy. I'm a former professor and university administrator. I've had the good fortune to travel all through the Baltic area, and I want to tell you today about my favorite city. Oh, what a beautiful city. Oh, what a beautiful city. Oh, ho, ho, what a beautiful city is St. Petersburg, Russia. Here are some of the stories coming up. People so good or thought to be so good that they were called great, as in Peter the Great and Catherine the Great. Assassinations and assassination attempts where not only was the ruler of the kingdom killed, but his wife and children as well. Wars, 10 million military, 3 million civilians killed in World War I, World War II combined. Revolution, and they had a doozy that changed the social, economic, political, and military landscape of the entire world. And the reasons for this revolution were so profound that I've called this talk, No Wonder They Had a Revolution. I'll explain that in a minute. So history, you want history? You've come to the right place. Here in St. Petersburg is history. And it has visited often, but not always been kind to this city and its people. So now we have to agree on something. This cannot be your only trip to St. Petersburg. There's too much to see, too many pictures to take, too much culture, too much history to absorb. So here's what I suggest. As you travel around, travel with a notebook. 2 columns. This column, what you're seeing now. So you saw this. Wow, that was great. I want to make a note of that. Took some great pictures here. And over here, the things you haven't seen. Oh, the guidebook says that's interesting, but we're not going to see that today. Oh, we went by it too fast. So as you tour around, enjoy your visit, but also plan your next visit soon. Here's how I came to love St. Petersburg. First visit, I was on a business trip to Stockholm and I had some extra time at the end. And I found a cheap, really cheap Russian ferry over and back. I forget how much it was, but it was cheap. And it was Spartan, a tiny cabin and a sink only, bathroom, shower down the hall. Men this way, women this way. But it included transportation over and back, of course, entertainment, folkloric, very energetic, great music, beautiful costumes. Using the ship as a hotel in St. Petersburg for 2 or 3 nights, whatever it was, all the meals and all the tours. On this ship there were 40 Swedes and me. So the Swedes had their own interpreter in the front of the bus. Ba, 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 ba. She was interpreting for them. I had an interpreter all to myself in the back of the bus. And so the interpreter would whisper in my ear, and we did, of course, bother the Swedes in the row, several rows ahead of us. The interpreter for the Swedes had the better deal, of course, because she had the potential for 40 people to tip her. My poor interpreter had only me. I gave her a little extra. It was around the 1st of December. It was cold, it was clear, great tours, modern buses. We saw the Hermitage, we saw Catherine's Palace at Pushkin, Peter and Paul Cathedral, and I met some people on that trip that I'm still in touch with today. Second trip to St. Petersburg was because we were about to start a 15-day river cruise from St. Petersburg to Moscow. So we came in early to do some sightseeing on our own and made a good move. We didn't know how good it was until we figured it out, that we hired a private guide. And she met us at our hotel and took us on the subway to the Hermitage. And that's a great experience. If you can get out on the subways in town, please do so. So she took us to the Hermitage where she was an art historian. And she said to us, here's how I think we should do it. Rather than racing through the Hermitage and seeing nothing, let's concentrate on a few things. There's Michelangelo, a Rembrandt, a Raphael, a Matisse, a Monet, this collection, that collection. So she made great choices, and we had a terrific day. So I recommend it if you can, maybe on your next trip, because you're going to make another trip back, remember. On your next trip, maybe a private guide. So then we joined the riverboat tour, stayed in St. Petersburg for a few days, and went out on tours all over again and had still another tour into the Hermitage. Great experience. Here are a few nuts and bolts about St. Petersburg. It is a city of 4.5 million people. It's the second largest city in Russia, second to Moscow, the capital, of course, about 400 miles to the southeast. There are more than 200 museums in St. Petersburg, which is another good reason why you must come back. You will hear it called the Venice of the North, which would suggest great beauty, and it is, in fact, a beautiful city. There are lovely canals, beautiful architecture, nice gardens. It is a very gracious city. You'll also hear of the White Nights, which is the 24 hours of daylight or twilight. At least it never gets fully dark, which is roughly June 11th to July 2nd, around the longest days of the year, of course. And many cities at this latitude have celebrations around the White Nights. St. Petersburg at that time celebrates opera, ballet, and this is the time when they have a major film festival. St. Petersburg has gone through a number of name changes, depending on which history book you read at which point in history. St. Petersburg, Petrograd, Leningrad, and then back to St. Petersburg again. Russia has a struggling economy, as the United States does, and many others at this time. Not helping, on the 1st of July of 2009, Russia closed all of their casinos. And in St. Petersburg, there were 109 of them. Just a handful were Las Vegas style. The rest were smaller gambling halls. But it put about 10,000 people out of work. The plan is to move the casinos away from the population centers. One is going up into the Baltic area. The others are going to Siberia. Now, when they go to Siberia, they're going to be 6 or 7 time zones away from Moscow. So they're really going to be out there in a place as cold as Vegas is hot. Let me suggest a great way to see St. Petersburg, if not on this trip, then maybe on your next one. I'm a great fan of walking tours, and I've done them in London and Vienna and New Orleans. And there are walking tours and sometimes even biking tours that let you see things at ground level with great guides, interesting people from many nations. A lot of times they'll start at a place where you can get a latte and walk along at a leisurely pace. You'll see the major attractions, of course, of any city. But one nice thing is you also get into doorways and alleyways and neighborhoods and nooks and crannies that you would not otherwise see. So it's great for pictures. And more leisurely than a bus passing by some interesting places or disembarking 50 people very quickly to see something. The tours might be 2, 3, 4 hours. In St. Petersburg, there's a White Nights biking tour at midnight. There's a World War II siege tour, the Siege of Leningrad. I'll talk about that a little later. KGB, scary KGB, tour of the Museum of Russian Political Police, and things like that that are interesting and fun. Who was Peter the Great and what are his contributions to history? Yes, he was a tall man with a small head, 6'8" to 7 feet tall, depending on which history book you read. And the pictures and statues around town do show his head to be smaller than the rest of his large frame. In Peterhof, if you visit his summer home, you will see one of his beds. It is not 7 feet long, and they didn't make them that way at that time, and we were told that Peter then had to sleep sitting up. He was crowned the Tsar of Russia in 1682 at the ripe old age of 10. He co-ruled with his brother. He was named Emperor of Russia in 1721, and St. Petersburg was named for him, or for the Apostle Peter. Depends which history book you would like to read. You can accept one or the other. He moved the capital from Moscow to St. Petersburg, and he had a failed first marriage, and he banished his wife, or ex-wife, to become a nun.